Next episode of the Tradepreneur Show, we're going to talk how to go from tech to trusted advisor. Because if you're just showing up to fix stuff, you're replaceable. But when you're a trusted advisor, irreplaceable. Tune into the next show. Welcome to the Tradepreneur Show. I'm your host, Patrick Summers, filling in co-host Tanya Priest. Thank you again, Tanya, for helping us out.
Yeah, thank you. I love it. I love the trades.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. It's the Tradepreneur Show. Listen, she's been laughing this whole morning. So I wanted to share because we started early on about the love of the trades, and the original idea for this Tradepreneur Show was just really to promote the trades, talk about the trades, and help those that are in the trades get to the next level, whether they're a technician or business owner, or somebody that is not in the trades but wants to know what the opportunity is.
Right.
And is there opportunity, and how do you get in the trades? Because I remember before I was in the trades, like, how do you become a technician?
Right.
And there was a day where it was a lot easier to find that path because high schools taught. They had vocational schools and things like that.
Yeah.
They at least had shop class where you could kind of figure out if that's the direction you wanted to head. And while there's trade schools out there, they can be far and few between. And there's, like anything, there's some good ones, there's some not so good ones. And how do you decide? And so I thought, we do a show and we kind of help promote that. And we've evolved a little bit since then. But what I wanted to share with our listeners is what I've noticed, and you're, I'm going to assume agree because you show up to the office every day. We've had an uptick, it seems, of people coming in, like younger kids.
Right.
Right.
Like right out of school.
Right out of high school.
Uh-huh.
And sending in their resumes, which is very short because they're right out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
But they're coming in and they're having an interest in the trades. And in fact, I just got an email, this kid that has a scholarship to go play baseball and doesn't want to go to college. And he's going to be coming in to interview because he wants to get in the trade. So I don't know if it's because I'm talking about the trades on the podcast regularly and I'm more in tune to it, or if there really is a shift happening, which I do believe there is, of high school students saying, hey, what opportunities are there? What is the opportunity? Are you hiring? Do you train? So we've got, I would say we've probably got 4 or 5 apprentices right now.
Yes.
We've got one in electrical, right?
Right.
That I know just recently started. We've got a couple in plumbing, and we have a couple in HVAC. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
The trades, there's so much opportunity, and there's not a lot of information out there. There should be, because there is a greater interest, let's say, from the community of promoting the trades. And I do feel that there's this shift that is happening in the mindset of the younger generation. Is college worth it? Is that the route to go? And I think college is fantastic. Look, I tell some of the kids here, I'm like, listen, if you want to go to college, still go to college. You can be a college-educated technician, but it's not going to be the thing that makes or breaks you, right? Your work ethic and showing up and studying your craft. I mean, it takes a lot to become a expert. I use that term loosely because I think that you don't ever reach that destination, but to become somebody that's capable in the trades. I mean, we had Andrew on the last episode, and he used a number of like 15 years, like before you actually get to that place. And I think there's some truth to that, right? Like where an apprentice is going to do 4 or 5 years to really become that level of technician, that they've kind of seen it all, done it all, and are very capable, but that journey continues. So it's exciting to see. I love the trades. The opportunity is there. I heard some numbers this past week about, and I don't recall specifically what they were, but it was for every 4 people or 5 people retiring from the trades, there's like only 1 coming in.
Oh, wow.
And I believe it was in a news story. I can't remember if it was like the Wall Street Journal, because they cover the trades a lot. I've noticed they're doing a lot more coverage of the trades and what's going on. And that could be, obviously, we've got the Trump administration that's really kind of coming after colleges. Whether you agree with that or disagree with that, it does bring up the conversation of the trades, what's going on in the trades, the opportunity in the trades. And I guess my only regret is I didn't get into the trade sooner. I mean,
or that the other day.
Yeah, or I didn't pursue it. I did the plumbing, I dug the trenches and things like that when I was in high school. And then I got out of it. And then I circled back to it. It's like, man, what would be different if I stayed in it? And perhaps I'm better because of it, because, you learn. I got to learn from other industries and things like that. But man, what a great opportunity. And it's so awesome to be able to do this podcast and talk about something I'm so passionate about. And the other thing is really cool is I get to show up to a place every day to work doing something I love, which you can't beat that.
Same right? For me. Yeah. It's awesome.
So listen, this episode, we got off on a little trade tangent there.
It's fun.
Which is fine. But this episode, we're in the warmer months, the summer months. And the stuff that I want to talk about over the next several episodes is relevant any time of year. But I believe it's really important to talk about it now, because this is the time of year where people skip steps. They get sloppy. And it makes sense as to why. They're tired, right?
Right.
They're working longer days.
Mm-hmm.
The temperatures are more extreme. You've got a bunch of different things going on. And when somebody gets busier and has longer days and they're in those temperatures, it's very easy to skip steps. So what I want to talk about is some really fundamental things. And in this episode, I want to just take a little bit of time of what is so important. So if you're a technician out there serving customers, or you're a business owner or a manager, some really important things to be talking to your team about right now, and for you to be role playing on and training on is, are you a technician, right? Are you a fix-it person, or are you a technical advisor? Are you a technician that actually has the role of advisor? And when you can make that shift from I sell, I'm a fixer, I do this, I do that, to listen, I'm an advisor. I'm going to come and I'm going to look at everything here, and then I'm going to advise what should be done. It really changes not just the perspective for the self, for the individual, but for the customer.
Right.
All right.
Huge difference. And
the challenge is, when you're just a fix-it person, when you just fix, you're irreplaceable, or you're replaceable, right? Because you can get somebody to just fix something, right? Because when you just fix something, guess what? You oftentimes have callbacks. You have unsatisfied or dissatisfied customers, because all you did was put a Band-Aid on the issue. And that may be one of the things you advise on, and it may be what the customer chooses, but it also could be the only option you gave them. So that's the only option they thought they had.
Right.
Right. And so what's really important is, the first thing that has to happen, obviously, is a shift in the mindset of the technician. Yeah. Right. When I hear the phrase, I'm just a technician, drives me crazy. Right. Because it's like, you're not just a technician. The doctor doesn't say, I'm just a doctor. Right. A lawyer doesn't say, I'm just a lawyer. And so you're a professional. You're a trades professional that has invested a lot of time and money into your development. Right. And you probably work for a company who is also investing a lot of time and money into your development. And when a customer calls you out to their home or business because they have an issue, whatever the issue is, I don't care if it's a roofing issue, an electrical issue, plumbing, landscaping, whatever it is, they're trusting you to advise them on what they should do. Right. What is their issue, if they have an issue, and what are their options to take care of it? So the challenge is, they have to trust you. And first impressions suck a lot of times, right? Because how many times do you have an experience where you might have been treated differently or not given a fair shake because of a first impression. And if you look back on it, you're like, their first impression of me is not accurate for who I am, but the way I showed up, I 100%, they should have thought that about.
Yeah, they had every right to, because
Right.
the way you presented yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, it happens. There's times in me, I'm like, man, I'm like, that's not fair. Like, this is not cool. I'm like, they didn't even give me a chance. And then when I self-reflect, I'm like, you know what? The way I showed up, the way I approached that individual or those individuals or that situation, they got a first impression of me and they immediately shifted how they interacted with me, right? On the other hand, when I show up intentionally in the right way, prepared, totally shifts.
Huge difference.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I believe you are a picture, right? Your self-image. What is the picture of yourself? And what is the picture other people have of you? So as a technician, you've got to leave a good first impression. And first impressions are formed quickly. I believe it's 7 seconds. You can look that up if you'd like. I believe a first impression is formed in 7 seconds. That's a very short amount of time.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if you're a bomb technician.
Right.
That was a joke. Okay. So, but 7 seconds is a very short of time. And what do you do in 7 seconds? Not a whole lot. Sometimes you don't even say hi. You just walk from your vehicle to the front door. And if somebody's looking out at you, or they open the door and you might just say hello or do a greeting, and a first impression is formed, do this test. Take the rest of the day, right? Or tomorrow, depending on when you're tuning in. Be conscious of the people you meet that you haven't met before, whether it's you're stopping to get a coffee at the Starbucks, right? Or you're getting some gas at the gas station, whatever it is. Somebody walks into your building, your office, or you're out in the field going and meeting a customer. How quickly did you form that first impression? What is your first impression of that person, right? How many times do we look at somebody that we immediately form, I can't trust them. They don't look trustworthy, right? And that could be the furthest thing from the truth. But the appearance matters. So if it takes 7 seconds to form a first impression, if there's a negative first impression, how many encounters does it take to reverse that first impression?
That's a good question.
It's a phenomenal question.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Patrick.
And it'd be an even better question if I knew the answer.
Yeah.
It's like 17. I believe it's about 17.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm going to look that up, but regardless of what it is, it's not like you can correct a bad first impression on the next meeting. And it's a lot of times you can't reverse it in that moment, right? So, and that doesn't mean you have to go back to the house 17 times.
Right.
But those interactions that you have, you've got to have 17 of them before you
that's a big number.
can reverse that.
Yeah.
Right. So now guess what? You've gone to a home. In this case, I'm going to say a home. You've gone to a home and you get out of the truck. You're disheveled. Right. I like that word, disheveled.
That's a great word.
You're disheveled. And, you're just kind of ragtaggy and you're walking up, your shoulders are dropped.
Right.
Maybe your shirt's untucked a little bit. And somebody's looking out the window because they hear the vehicle. They've just formed a first impression of you. So that means when you knock on that door and they open the door, now is your next time to start reversing that negative first impression. Versus you get out of the truck, stop around the corner. Make sure you're looking sharp. Stop around the corner. Get your hair right. Get your ball cap on right if you got a ball cap. Have everything you need in that truck next to you so you grab it and you go. When I used to be in the field and I'd ride along with guys and we'd pull up in front of a home or a business and they'd get out of the truck and they'd go around back to the truck and they'd open the back and they'd dig and then they'd find their floor savers or booties if you're unfamiliar with the term floor savers. They might find a little toolkit they might use, whatever it is. And then they close the door and then they walk to the house. And I'm like, afterwards, when we debrief, I'm like, what did you just do? Oh, well, I'm like, no.
You have to be prepared.
You need to get out of the truck, looking sharp, little hustle in your step and get to that front door, right? Or walk into that business, because people are looking at you and they're forming a first impression.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not prepared. That's what that's communicating. You're not prepared. So look, when you show up, the message here is when you show up as a technician, and if you're a business owner and your technicians are out there representing you and your company, you have a responsibility to make sure this is happening. You show up looking sharp. You show up to the business, the front door, wherever you're going, out of your vehicle, and get to work. And you do the proper greeting, right? You announce yourself. You introduce yourself. That is going to be half the battle right there. Mm-hmm. Now you formed a good first impression. Hey, I like this kid. Good looking kid. Looks like he hustles, like he's out here to get things done, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the things that are being formed, right? Now you go into the home. Now what do you have to do? Like, what's the next step in earning trust? If you're in somebody's home, think about this. This is what I tell technicians. Most of the times you go to the home, who's answering the door and who you're interacting with is somebody's mother, grandmother, sister, daughter, girlfriend, maybe all of them. I don't know. That's a little, I don't want to be in that family, but you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. Like most of the time you go to the home, you're dealing with a female, and trust has to be high. Mm-hmm. All right. So you've got to continue building that trust the entire cycle of that call. Now, Tanya, you're a woman.
Yeah.
Right? Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think one of the greatest skills someone can have to build trust, especially from a woman's perspective?
Just being authentic. I know for me, I've been to clients' homes and walked in the home and built the relationship with them. It's just being authentic and being caring and just letting them know, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you, and just showing your knowledge and just being authentic.
And one of the ways you do that, and I was just thinking of like my wife, because if I can accomplish so much if I just listen to her. She can, like, if I just listen to her, because, guys, right? We want to solve problems, mm-hmm. right? So it's taken me many years of marriage to realize that, wait, I'm not supposed to solve her problem. I need to listen to her. Now, in my head, I'm solving the problem. But my whole point here is listening skills, right? Sometimes we're talking so much that we don't listen. And when you're going into and dealing with a customer, and in our next episode, we're going to be talking about how to properly present options, because it's critical. But how do you know how to present the options? The fix-it guy or gal is going to say, oh, well, I do a diagnostic and I determine what the issue is. Mm-hmm. And then I present the options to take care of that problem. But that would be like going to the doctor and saying, my arm hurts. And the doctor does an exam on the arm, finds an issue, doesn't find an issue, but treats or doesn't treat that arm, but doesn't pay attention to anything else you have going on.
Right.
Well, why? Because there doesn't appear to be anything else going on. But if you walk in, you say, well, you start asking about the arm, you start telling a story and the doctor is listening to you, and then asking questions when the time is right, but doing more listening. Then you find out, wow, this guy fell. That's why his arm hurts.
Right.
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 Well, why'd you fall? Tell me what you were doing when you fell. Mm-hmm. Perhaps it's, this at home when I was on a ladder and, I was stupid. I tried to reach too far and fell. Or I don't know. I don't remember. It went dark and I woke up and my arm's hurting, and now we got something else going on. Right. Mm-hmm. So, but without asking questions and without listening to the answers, you're not going to really know beyond the obvious what the issues are, what's going on, what problems are happening. Right?
Yeah.
So you've got to build that rapport. And one of the best ways to build that rapport is by asking the questions, the right questions. And look, there's the easy questions, right? And let me rephrase that. Not easy questions, but the typical questions. Like for HVAC, how long have you lived in the home? How old is your system? Do you have regular maintenance done?
Mm-hmm.
Where in the home are there hot or cold spots, right? Whatever trade it is, you have your set of questions that are going to help you diagnose.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to go deeper, right? Those are the surface level questions, the obvious ones, right? That those are kind of like, again, going to the doctor. There's certain things when you go to the doctor, they're going to do, right? Especially if it's, let's say, emergency room. They're going to take your temperature. They're going to weigh you. They're going to check your height, blood pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Those are, but what any doctor can do that. Any medical facility can do that. Those are the basics that have to be done. But who really sits down and gets your history, right?
Right.
That makes that now you become, they say doctors, you hear bedside manner. A lot of it is because they stick to the clinical
Mm-hmm.
and they don't go into the other side of things, right?
Right.
That's what we need to be able to do. The clinical is very important for technicians, but in really being able to become a trusted advisor, you've got to go into the non-clinical side of it. You've got to find out what's going on, because when you're at a customer's home or place of business, you're there to solve problems. And a lot of times the client doesn't even know they have a problem. So you need to figure out, okay, what's the obvious problem? What's the cause of that problem? And what else is going on that is not so obvious? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, just people feel like they're heard. So if we're asking questions, it's also showing that, you're interested in helping them. You want to know how you can take care of them.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to have that dialogue.
Yeah.
Right. You got to have that dialogue, because to be a technician versus a technician that's a trusted advisor, you're going in, they're paying you, and you have to believe this, because if you don't believe this, you're just going to be a fixer. They're paying you to come into their world and say, tell me what's wrong with my environment. Tell me what's wrong with my safety. Tell me what's wrong with my comfort. Tell me what's wrong with my efficiency, right? What exists out there to make my life better, to make me more comfortable? And I used the story before I got into the trades. We called a air conditioning company out to our house. How I chose this company was, I was in dry cleaning. I was a customer of my cleaners. And so I called him. I knew the guy. So there's trust there.
Right.
Right? Like and trust. So I called his company. And they sent this kid out. And he comes into our house. And, the air wasn't working. I knew enough to be dangerous at that time. Right? So he comes back and he says, oh, you know what? You need a capacitor, right, for your condenser fan motor outside, and you need a refrigerant adjustment. You're a little bit low on refrigerant. And I said, oh, okay, do it. Yeah, let's do it. So he takes care of it, does it. Was very efficient, very nice guy. Took care of that and left. Fast forward, I'm in the trades, right, and now I'm a technician. And I go to this training on learning how to present options and things like that. So I decided I was going to role play with my wife. Don't get the wrong idea. But my kids, they were real little at the time. They would sit on the sofa. And I'd literally knock on our front door. I would answer it. And I'd go through the thing, and we'd go to the thermostat. And I would ask the questions that I just learned in training. And one of them, again, is... And again, this is a very important question, and how you ask the question. Do you have hot or cold spots?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is a closed-ended question. The answer is yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you rephrase that question, tell me where in the house are hot or cold spots. By that, I mean rooms that are out of sync with what you feel they should be for the rest of the home. Now, they could easily say, oh, we don't have any. Right? But it typically causes them to elaborate a little bit more. So I use that question with my wife. My wife says, wait a minute, there's something we can do about that? Because she said to me, she said, well, she goes, babe, you know what room it is?
Yeah.
The front room where Grace sleeps. You know, she's my oldest. She's 21 now, but she was a little girl. And I'm like, babe, we're role playing. I don't know that. Right? Because she would get out of character. I'm like, you're getting out of character. Anyways, I would say, no. So where well, the front bedroom, you know. Oh, who sleeps in that room? Oh, our daughter, you know. Okay. And it explained that to me. And I had her explain to me like what it was like. I said, oh, well, if today while I'm here, if I find something that can help improve that, would you like me to share it with you? She says, wait a minute. We can fix that? I'm like, please stay in character. And I said, yes, there's different things, but I don't know what's wrong other than what you just told me. So let me see. It could be something simple like a duct is disconnected in the attic, whatever. But let me do my job first. And you've given me the okay that I'll share with you anything that I think can improve it. Wait a minute, she says. You mean that guy came to our house and he worked on the air conditioner?
Yes.
And fixed it? And he didn't even ask us about this. I mean, we could have fixed that.
In and out.
Like, because it was a few years earlier. I was like, yeah, now get back into character, please. No, but the point is, she was like, why didn't that guy tell us? Because he's a fix-it guy, right? He came, the problem was the air's not cooling. He went right to the condenser, right? Did his check. He never went in our attic, which is where the indoor unit is. Yeah. Did his check. I don't know because I've never had air conditioning service. This is my first house. And I called a company. I knew the guy that owned the company. So I'm like, hey, this is great. He walks in his boots, you know, no floor savers. No, like he was a nice guy, right. But there was none of the things that should take place to build that trust. And the fact of the matter is, whatever solution he would have presented for that front bedroom, which was my daughter's, we would have gone with it. Right. We would have bought. We would have invested. Right. And I'm not a salesperson. No, you're an advisor. Right. You're a technician. You have a moral obligation and responsibility to tell me what I can do to improve my environment. Right. Now, in order to do that, you have to know what you're doing. You have to ask the right questions, and you have to have that conversation, and you have to listen to the answers. Because I, as the homeowner at the time, I had no idea that you could do something. I was just like, man, it sucks. That room's horrible, you know? And we did the things that we know. Put a fan in there. It changed out the shades, you know, things like that. But it was a whole duct design issue. Right. And so at that time, there was a solution that was not presented to us. Had it been presented to us, that company would have walked away instead of with a couple $100 worth of work. They would have walked away with several thousand. Right. And we would have been thrilled. Yeah. We would have been absolutely 100% thrilled, satisfied. Right. Right. So listen, you're a trusted advisor. You are a technician, but you're not a fix-it. You're not a Mr. or Mrs. Fix-it. You're an advisor. Your job is to solve problems. Sometimes that involves using your wrenches, your tools, your gauges, hammers, chisels, you name it, right? Other times it involves a little bit less of that hands-on work. But you can't do any of it if you don't believe that you're walking into every business, every home to solve problems for people and to make their life better. It's the truth. It's the truth. You heard Tanya Priest. She said it's the truth. So we know it's the truth. By the way, you're a very good listener because I talk a shit ton. You really do. I know, yeah. But I learn from you every time I'm here, so I love it. Well, it's good because otherwise I'd just be talking to a camera and to a microphone and I'd feel lonely. So at least I have somebody to talk to. So with that said, we're wrapping up another issue of the Tradepreneur. You know, a little bit of a tangent there at the beginning. Yeah. But I wanted to update and talk about what's going on in the trades, or at least what I'm seeing, like actually experiencing as a business owner. And also, you know, listen, the end of the day, when you go into the home, take your time, ask the questions, do the right thing, change your perspective about who you are and what you are, because you're a technician and you solve people's problems. And as soon as you believe that, and as soon as you carry that out every single day, you will feel more fulfilled, you will be more successful, and you'll make people happy. So until next time, thanks for tuning into the Tradepreneur Show.
Bye, everybody.